Hello, everyone, and welcome to our speaker training series for authors, entrepreneurs, salespeople. If just the thought of public speaking, of getting up in front of a small group or a large group just has you shaking and stuttering and sweating, you are perfectly normal, but there are things you can learn, things you can do, employ ways to prepare that will make you a more confident and comfortable public speaker. I'm Dr. Mo Anderson, and I am a TEDx speaker, an author, a podcast host, and a multi-published author. In addition, I am a licensed doctor of dental surgery. What all of those share in common is it's all about communication, all about why words matter, how you use them to persuade, to influence, to sell. I mean, if you're speaking and you're not alone in the room, you're public speaking. And if you start thinking about it like that, it's just an intimate group, an intimate thought. It's easier to get up in front of a crowd and do your thing. So I'm very excited to have with me today Em Washington. She'll be introducing herself in a moment, but she is gifted. I'll just sum it up like that. And our objective, our goals for this session are to help you prepare, to understand the audience, understand their concerns, to know why they chose you, why they want you to speak, and are they a good fit for you? It's a mutual interview, if you will. You need to know all money ain't good money. All speaking engagements ain't good speaking engagements, right, Em?
This is right.
We've all had some where you look out at the crowd and they're not feeling you and you are not feeling them. You're just hoping those evaluations don't go public. But if you prepare properly up front, you know what you're getting into. That doesn't have to be the case for you. If you're joining us on other platforms, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Please drop your comments, drop your concerns, drop your questions. This is going to be a quick, short, hit 'em and run session. We've got 30 minutes and we'll give you back your day. But do share it. If you know the people who might be interested, share it with your network, share it to your feed so they can learn from us. We can answer their questions, and just speaking, communication is so very important for your personal and professional relationships. There'll be 4 sessions: preparation, practice, presentation, and pitching. You really want to be here for all of them, but if you can't, these videos will be evergreen. They'll be in our feeds, on our pages, so connect with us, follow us. We're easy to find. And any questions that we can't answer today, we will answer those comments, those questions within the next 48 hours. So with that, Em, I'm going to pass it over to you, Em Washington.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name, as Dr. Mo said, is Emem Washington. I am a leadership development consultant. I'm also a speaker coach, TEDx coach, success strategist. I really just partner with leaders, experts, entrepreneurs to help them show up as thought leaders in the spaces and the niches that they're in. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be sharing with Dr. Mo on what we know and what we've experienced about speaking. As she said, public speaking is something that, I've seen it listed as one of the, at least if it's not the top fear, it's one of the top 3 fears of many people, most people in the world. And so let's see what we can do to alleviate some of that fear. And that's why we're here today and for the next 3 weeks. So happy to be here. Thanks, Dr. Mo.
Awesome. I am dealing with the feed here right now. I'm not seeing you on LinkedIn, but I'm going to ask you to go ahead and introduce the first point we want to make today. We've talked about our goals for this session, and for you to drop your comments in the chat, your questions, concern. If you're on Facebook, there's a poll we'd like for you to answer, and let's go with it.
Well, so the first point is, well, and again, we're talking today about preparation, preparing to speak, right? And we're going to be talking about 4 P's, and the first P is preparation. So when you're preparing, what goes into that? Well, one of the things is knowing the company or the organization for whom you'll be speaking or to whom you'll be speaking. What is it about them? What can you glean about them? And then what about the audience? If you're speaking at a conference, it's one thing to understand what the conference is about, but then also to understand and to do the digging to find out more about the audience. Who's going to be in the audience? Who are they? What do they do? What are their pain points? Why are you the one that was asked to come to speak on the topic on which you're speaking? And then what's in it for them? Like, what do you want them to walk away with before or after listening to you speak? What is it that you want them to walk away with? So preparation happens, of course, before the event, but you're using it to serve the audience and to serve the people that invited you in, the organizers, the organization that brought you in. Answering these questions will help you not only stand out, but also to connect with the audience because you're speaking to them. Have you ever been in a room or been in an audience and heard someone speak and you're like, how did they know they're speaking directly to me? Well, it's the preparation that you do ahead of time, answering these questions that will help you get that connection with the audience. Dr. Mo, what say ye?
Those were really good points. And there, a lot of people take this part for granted, not really understanding that this is the foundation, right? It's like building a house. If the foundation isn't right, then you're going to have issues. It's not going to be able to withstand the challenges, the winds that blow through, and people can be very, very critical when you don't meet their expectations. So when you know who spoke before you, when you know, like she said, what their pain points are there going to be layoffs or are there changes in the industry? There are so many challenges people can have, and looking to see what type of comments not just leadership and executives are making, but what are the employees saying? What are the team members saying? What types of things do you see online? Can't emphasize that enough. And Em did a great overview of that. But the only other thing I would stress again is that you are interviewing each other. Do not just say yes because you're so thrilled that someone asked you to speak. Oh my goodness, I get to talk. And then you find out this is not at all the right audience for me. I did it with a group. I can't remember, they're utility workers or something. And, I can do motivational speaking. I do training on topics I'm familiar with. I don't know jack about utilities. I should not have taken that speaking engagement. I don't know a doggone thing about that. And even with research, I couldn't get to the level that they were at and what they were expecting, but I just didn't clarify with what are you specifically looking for as an organizer, and what types of things resonate with your employees. Some of them really like humor. They love for you to be funny. And some people are very, very serious. And you start making jokes and they're going to be offended because they take their business very, very seriously. So to a degree, with the right questions, you can really know who you're talking to and how to bring it.
I love that example that you gave. I'll just add one more thing. This piece applies to you even if you are comfortable speaking, so, and sometimes people will say, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, even if you're comfortable speaking or you don't have the fear of public speaking, still take the time to prepare. Because like Dr. Mo said, she's spoken on many stages before many audiences. Fear of public speaking is not necessarily a thing for her right now. It probably was at some point, But if she had prepared a little bit more for the talk to the utility workers, I mean, that's just a beautiful example. So.
So, yeah, and it's not just, like you said, I can learn anything. I have mastered some subjects that, I was just like, I don't know anything about that. I don't know. And then I got immersed in them. Ebonics, for example, I have a whole book on it. But it also, is it something that I want to talk about, that I want to learn about? Because I have to be passionate about what I'm doing. I have to believe it. I can't just, people approach me all the time for sponsorships for my podcast. I'm like, I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm not promoting cigarette smoking. I'm not taking your money. This is not for me. So it may not be for you. And that's okay, because you close that door and another opportunity will open every time. I am certain of this. Yeah. Next topic we wanted to hit on here quickly is customized and specific. And I kind of went on this a little bit, but you can ask about accomplishments. We're still on you're interviewing them to make sure this is the right fit for you. What has the company done lately? Did they just celebrate their 25-year anniversary? This is stuff you can get from their website. Did they just grow? Did they scale up? Did they open some new locations? So you're talking to a group of restaurants, employees at a restaurant, and they just opened 3 more locations. When you can throw little very specific things out there about that group, I know you, I care about what you're doing, right? That will set you apart from everybody else who is reading straight from a speech that they've given to 500 other people. You want to be memorable. And when you show people, I care enough about you, that I've learned about you, that helps establish a connection. Profitability. How are they doing? What's their mission statement? What are their values? I try to work that into my remarks before I even start writing. This is me doing my background, my research, just as if I was doing for a book. These are the pieces, the bones, the framing, if you will, if I'm going to use that housing analogy for that foundation, is what I'm going to build on. Where am I going to put support columns? What information do I need to make this a well-composed, strong speech, and to say things that people are going to remember because they resonate with them, they impact with them. You can say a lot of cute things, a lot of quotes, a lot of philosophy, but if you're not connecting, if you're not on the same street they're on, they're not going to remember a thing you said, because it hasn't changed their life, transformed their mindset. They're just going to forget it. And that's unfortunate, but it's true. And then, like I said, check out their reviews. If you happen to know someone who works there at the company, the group, the organization, reach out to them. You've got contacts on LinkedIn. If you don't have contacts, Google, see who works at this company. That is a great source of information. They may even have a nickname for the CEO, and you get that nickname and then you break that out in the middle of your speech. Everybody's they're going to light up. They are going to light up and be so happy that you know that the CEO or the CIO's nickname is Skippy. I don't know why I said Skippy, but it could be a Skippy. So I'm gonna toss it back to you, Em, for the next bullet point. I know we're going fast, folks, but we're trying to share something critical here with you this morning.
Absolutely. I mean, just adding to that, building on that, we're still in the mode of asking questions. And Dr. Mo said, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So some more specific questions to find out as you're preparing to give your talk. Where are you doing the talk? Is it going to be live in person? Is it going to be virtual? Are you coming in? Are they paying for you to come in? What are those arrangements? How much time do you have or will you have to give your talk? How much time will you have to speak? How many people do they expect to be in the audience? AV, audio visual. Are you responsible for, say, bringing your your laptop, your mic, your, what your speaker, who's in charge of that? So sometimes don't be surprised if you're the one that has to bring in some of that stuff, or maybe you're more comfortable bringing your own stuff, your own tech and your own slides and all of that, or do you have to mail it in ahead of time? So some of those things, again, are you speaking for a fee? What is that fee? Is it an honorarium? These are things to know up front so that you're not disappointed on the back end, or I'll just leave it at that. Some more questions include who spoke last at this event, especially if you're speaking at an event that happens, say, every year. Who spoke last? What did they talk about? What about what their talk resonated with folks, right? So who spoke last? And then who else is speaking on the same day in the same program as you? Who are the other speakers? And this also helps so that you can do a little bit of research in the speakers that they're bringing, what they might speak on. And so you're not all saying the same thing, and you can stand out and differentiate yourself from them. And lastly, will there be Q&A? So when they tell you how much time you have, does that include Q&A time, or do you need to, if they allow for Q&A time, can you carve out some of that time from your talk? So again, more questions, but doing this on the front end saves a lot of headache on the back end. Yeah, Dr. Mo?
Absolutely. You pretty much nailed it with that. And these are things that I learned as I've been speaking 30 years or more. We're just going to leave it at that. But these are things that I learned along the way. I just was not asking enough questions. I was thinking they're great. I'm getting paid. Let's do this, or not getting paid. I've done hundreds of free speeches particularly for academic groups and schools and nonprofits and so forth. I'm kind of getting out of that free business, just in case you were thinking of reaching out to me, but I can help you find a speaker if you need somebody free.
But it ain't me, no.
The bills just keep coming, and I have had enough practice. However, even in saying that, there are times, last year I did one for Altrusa. They have a really good group here. It's a core passion of mine. So I don't want anybody to hear me saying you always have to get paid, but you do need to know who you're speaking to, and is it a mutual benefit to both of you in terms of service. And I guess we want to talk about now the writing part. Wait, did we do finding the big idea?
No, I'll talk about that real quickly. Yeah,
let's go ahead and do that, and then go to writing.
So you notice that we've been doing this in a progression. So now that you've done all this prep work and asked all these questions, so now what are you going to talk about? How do you come up with what you're going to talk about and build that talk or craft that talk? So I can say a process that I use with my TEDx clients, and even my clients who I'm helping with develop signature talks, it's finding that big idea. So is what you want to talk about, first of all, the topics that you tend to talk about or want to talk about, are they in alignment with the conference, the organization, what they're bringing you in to speak on? And if they've given you a theme or a broad topic that they want you to talk about, then you start drilling down and digging deep to find out, okay, well, what is the big idea that I want to share? So for instance, I talk a lot about resilience. I talk a lot about overcoming adversity. I talk about other things too in the leadership space, but resilience just is something it's something I love to talk about. But that's a broad topic, right? And so now what specifically under resilience do I want to talk about? or it's going to resonate with this audience. So start doing research on going back to the question we asked earlier, who has spoken here before? What did they talk about? So now look to see what's been talked about before and how what you're bringing is newer, is new. It adds to what's already been there as opposed to duplicating or copying what's already there. Is there some personal experience that you've had that gives you expertise? Or are you an expert? Is there professional experience that you've had that makes you an expert? What are you passionate about? What are you passionate talking about? I mentioned resilience. Dr. Mo has her topics that she's passionate about. So what is it that you're passionate about talking about? This also will help you when you're putting yourself out there to know that, okay, what they bring speakers in to talk about is not really what I want to talk about. But over here, this is what I want to talk about. What are trending topics? And when I say trending topics, I'm not saying just pick a talk because it's trending, but if what you talk about aligns with a trending topic, why not? All right. And then also, like we talked about the theme. Is there a theme for the event? And how can you make what you're talking about fit under that theme? All right. So let me just recap real quickly and then I'll toss it back over to you, Dr. Mo. So, and I'm coming from the TEDx context. Let me give that example, right? So you're pitching yourself to speak on a TEDx stage, on any stage. How do you come up with what you're going to talk about? Well, it's coming up with that big idea. What are you an expert in professionally? What are you an expert in experientially, personally, the experiences that you've had? What is happening? What is happening in the world, in your vicinity? What are you passionate about? What's trending? What's the theme of the event? Think about those things as you drill down to come up with your topic. Dr. Mo, over to you.
Yeah, those are all very important points. And if you folks see me moving around like this, I'm like piloting a NASA ship right now with the behind the scenes stuff. So I am very, very interested in what Em is saying. However, I'm also serving as producer, editor, and monitoring social media. So just so you know, I don't have ADD. It hasn't been diagnosed at any rate. So...
But we're fine.
Em works with TEDx speakers in helping find that big idea, which is important. Both of us are veterans of the TEDx stage. She's done 2. I've done 1. I've dropped those on Facebook and LinkedIn if you want to see us in action to see if we are actually able to implement what we're talking about today. That's understandable. Check it out. We'd love for you to view those, and I'll be sharing parts from those in future sessions because there's some particular strategies that we employ. I especially like Em's introduction when she's talking about the ironing board for a teaser, and you want to grab people right away. And the point of that being, I'm also a writer. I have 8 books, fiction and nonfiction, hundreds of articles and blogs. And I started out as a writer before I became a speaker. And I've transferred those skills over because that introduction, when you write it, you spend a lot of time on that, getting people's attention, establishing your credibility. But when you're writing, when you have that idea, don't self-edit initially. Just write your speech. It is much easier to cut fat away later than it is to add. We can get you back down to your time. We work with people to do that. You can do it on your own, but don't self-edit. Put every data, the statistics, the anecdotes, the tables, and combine those in a way that you're weaving a story, you're storytelling. If you're just putting up slides and reading them to people, you can see in their faces that they're bored to death. And that's one of the things you have to do is to read the audience, read the attendees, read the room, as they say, and be able to switch. It may just be switching your tone. It may be inserting one of those names. If you know leadership's name, you know the organizer's name. If you've gone around beforehand and glad-handed a few people and you found out there was a Tim and a Joey and a Michaela and a Shaniqua, throw one of those names out and it brings people's attention back because they think, oh my goodness, she may call on me next. So you can, at the top of my remarks, whether it's on my phone or wherever, I'll have a few names just so I can call on people. And I learned this from the Baptist church, but it works. It does help people stay tuned. So write it all out. That's what we do with books, with articles. We write it all out. And then you go back and look at those initial notes you took. What do they need to hear from me? What's important to them? What did they hear last? What are they looking toward in this industry, in this organization? What are they looking forward to? Knowing where you're going before you start, knowing where you're going makes all the difference in how you craft that speech. Because if you find out these things afterwards, you've got to go back and change your speech. And you don't want to do that. I would even ask about their political affiliation. You don't want to mention that at all, but if you've got a group that's particularly one way or another, that may impact, depending on what you're talking about, it may impact what you say. There are just some things I avoid when I know that I'm speaking to a group that leans one particular way or another. Healthcare people versus naturopaths. That's two different speeches, even though I'm talking about the same thing, to bring that home. And the last thing I'll say is be very cautious with jokes. I am known for my wit. I can pretty much make anybody laugh. I use it to diffuse situations. It worked really well when I had my dental practice because people are nervous and anxious and spending money. That's a bad combination. So you need to be able to know how to make people comfortable. The same thing applies. They are your guest. When you're speaking, you're commanding that room. They are your guest. You want to provide what they need, but you also want them to be comfortable with what's being said. And I'm not saying you can't challenge people, but you don't want to be offensive. So watch your language, stay on top of the pronouns or whatever the current words we are, because if you offend even one person in the room and other people know that you offended them, they're going to be upset for them if they know them. So you want to be careful about what you're saying and run that speech by a few people, particularly people who don't know anything about what you're talking about. And it's amazing the things that they'll catch, that because you know what you meant, you didn't realize that it could be ambiguous or be offensive or just not be a complete thought. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next session, which is going to be about practice. But I didn't give you an opportunity to comment on that last point before we go, Ms. Washington.
I think you covered it all. I have nothing to add to that. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said there. Spot on.
Okay, amazing. Dan Roth is on LinkedIn and he's giving you a hard time, but he also says, looking forward to this. Thank you for joining us, Dan, and everyone else who joined. If you're on Facebook, please fill out the poll question. And if you're watching this later, we are live streaming. If you're watching it later, drop your comments, your concerns, your challenges in the comments, in the notes, and we will answer those for you either in the next couple of days or live, and we'll even say your name. So we we appreciate you. We hope you found this first session on the 4 P's of successful public speaking to be interesting, to be helpful. And I'm going to tell you, it just gets better week after week. Tell your friends, register, follow our pages. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Bye.
And that's true.